Welcome to Deal Makers. I'm Sarah Sharp, a deal attorney who helps people buy and sell businesses every day. And I'm going to tell you the one thing I would love to see in 2025, all of my businesses stop doing. And it would be so impactful, and you'll save hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees and dispute and all kinds of headaches. So if you don't want to feel like this, stop bringing people in as a partner when you start a business or when you're buying a business. I see it every single day and I get the urge. It is very human to not want to take on an enormous amount of risk all by yourself. And it's incredibly edifying to try to find somebody else who's got a whole different set of skills and talents and interests and connections and say, hey, why don't you take this risk on with me? It'll be great. We can talk about it. You'll care as much as I do about it. And I can stop pestering all my friends and spouse and family about all of my nitty gritty of my business choices. You'll be there and you'll care and we'll do it together. And we'll make sure that each other are, not taking on too much risk. We'll even it out. Instead of 100% of risk, I'm taking on 50% now. Let's become partners. Don't do it. For the most part, do not do that. So many people bring in owners and they give them ownership and equity for the promise of future behavior. And what it does, instead of making it so that you're spreading out your risk, you also spread out your reward. So nobody cares enough about the business to do what needs to be done to make it successful. That is the number one thing that I see people do that results in cataclysmic legal costs, is they bring in partners before they should have, or maybe when they should have just had 100% owned business. The very best use case for business ownership, in my view, is George Dyson of the Dyson Vacuums. Dyson is 100% owned by George Dyson. He could today just decide that he does ice makers and he's done with vacuums, and he doesn't have to run it up any flagpoles. I mean, he might have a board or something at this point, but it is his business and he's able to pivot. He's able to make any choices. He can take tons of risk. He can do anything he wants without running it past a big committee. And committees kill decisions. It's not worth it. The number one thing that I get dispute related contacts about, people slipping into my DMs looking for an attorney, is partner disputes. They're ubiquitous, right? It may be, to be fair, I have a bias because I'm a lawyer. And so I don't get the calls about the partner success stories where everyone is going, wow, we've worked together for years and years and we're so happy and I love it. And I'm really glad that we decided to do this from day one. I instead get probably a disproportionate number of calls about people who are going, this person has never been as committed to the business as me, and I've just been dragging them along and splitting the profits with them. How do I get them out? And what people don't understand on the front end is it's nearly impossible. There is a reason that partnership disputes are often referred to as a business divorce. And it is not just because it is emotional and gross and sticky and people are sad. It is because that in order to get somebody to legally separate out this business that is owned by two different people, you need a written agreement, like a settlement agreement that everybody signs where money changes hands, or a court order. So it is much, much, much like a marital divorce in that you have to have a court order, a legally binding agreement in order to actually extricate each other from your lives. That is so not automatic. And it takes so much attention away from the business that you should be running, trying to make successful. So you bring somebody in, it's not going great, you limp along, you want to get them off your books, right? You're sick of, maybe they even left. Maybe they've not even worked for the business for a couple of years. And now every time you make a distribution to yourself, you have to cut a 50% of that check to this guy who's living, in Vegas. And he's just become a rock climbing dirtbag and he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't answer your calls. Still, you have to pay him 50% of the distributions you're making ad infinitum. Will you do something sneaky eventually because you get so exhausted? Yeah. And the sneaky things people do to try to deal with this kind of unfair owner that's stuck on your books is they stop working on that business and they spin up a totally new competitive business and all of their energy goes there. That is so much easier said than done though, right? Imagine all of the different pieces that you have to pull into place to make that happen. It is often not worth it, and it's probably a violative of your fiduciary duties to each other. So not great, not recommending that. Other sneaky things people do is they start increasing their salary. So they go, sure, distributions are 50-50 because they're a co-owner. I'm going to increase my salary to 3 times what it used to be. So there's really nothing left for distributions anyways. And that's an option. Hit with an enormous ordinary income tax burden where you could have had capital gains treatment on those distributions. So it's not a free option. And it also might be violative of those fiduciary duties. But there you go. And so finally you might think, I'm sick of this. I just want to get out. I want to sell. Well, you're going to be sending a lot of that money over to the minority owner who hasn't done anything. It's going to feel bad for everybody. Every single person overestimates what they contribute, right? So maybe this guy who's now a rock climbing dirtbag in, wherever the heck, he is sitting there thinking, yeah, I don't do anything now because I've become enlightened and, converted to Buddhism. Blood, sweat, and tears to get this thing off the ground. I lived without a salary for years. I, slept in my van for a long time just to make it work. And then once it became profitable, I decided that I wanted to go be a rock climber, but I should be paid something. I grew it. That's the whole point of ownership. It is sticky. It is messy. It is not easy to undo. If you take nothing else away from this video, please take this. If somebody is an owner in a business and you are also an owner in that business, it is very hard to undo that. It is not automatic. It is incredibly challenging, expensive, stressful, and emotionally draining. And all of that energy and all of those resources could have been put into growing your business or just running your business. And instead it's diverted. So you have additional efforts, energies, resources that could have been used to make you more money that are just draining you. Almost every single partnership is going to part ways at some point. You can do some protective things on the front end, plan for the end at the beginning, right? Like a prenuptial. You say, if either one of us went out, this is how we buy each other out. It's a multiple of trailing 12 months revenue is payable over 5 years in monthly installments. Add in an emergency break provision, which is a legal term to say if payments to this person ever exceed 20% of the profit of the business, they'll be titrated down so the business can stay afloat. You can do that. Absolutely should do that if you're bringing in a co-owner. But one way to really make sure that you don't have to do all that stuff is to not have a co-owner. If you don't need one, figure out a different way. If you have a real desire to have investors or something like that so that you have other people having skin in the game for your board meetings, there are other approaches. Am I saying never, ever, ever have a co-owner because it's the worst decision ever? No, I have co-owners. I've had the same partner for 6 years or something now in my law firm side of things, and I partner with other people in other industries all the time. But there's usually a way to structure it so that everybody stays generally pretty protected and you only actually share ownership is the right thing to do. And you feel really confident. You've had a lot of experience, exactly know what is expected of each other, and you've got a good avenue to exit and you know exactly what that looks like at any given time. That is maybe an okay time to add an owner, but for the most part, I say avoid it if you can. Do not think that you can just throw equity around like money when you're on the front end of building or buying a business because you're short on cash and you've got a lot of free to meaningless equity to throw around. Don't do that. Try to find some cash. Find some Kohl's cash. Find some Starbucks gift cards. Find another way to compensate people that is not ownership of a business because it's so hard to undo. If you found this valuable at all, even though it's a total downer, I'm sorry, please like and subscribe and go check out dealacademy.org for more ways that you can become the expert on all the parts of buying a business.